Hello everyone and welcome to the Value Web project. Now I know you practiced a lot, but you're going to practice one more time on a normal printer piece of paper, and you're going to make 4 organic kidney bean-like shapes. Each one is going to get a little darker and filled in a little more. As you can see, the third and fourth one are filled in with more of a medium tone and an even darker tone in the last one. These are going to represent the different layers in your project, and you can use this extra piece of paper to help kind of cover your hand as you're shading your blobby blobs. So for your first layer, you're going to make your organic rounded bean-like shapes all across the paper. You'll probably make about 6 to 10, just depending on what size they are. And notice I am not touching the very edges of the paper. So when you do this in your large drawing pad, yours are going to be fairly large. So kind of imagine the pattern on a giraffe. You're going to kind of make the same thing. Now it's time to apply those shading techniques that you've worked so hard on now. Do remember you're using the side of your lead with your pencil. Don't put too much control into making those hard streaks. Use that side of that lead to really make sure you have nice, smooth lines that are kind of blending in with each other as you're going along with it. Use that lighter pressure when you're going to do that lighter tone, and that harder pressure when you're going back into that perimeter of that organic shape that we've created here. Don't worry if you're creating kind of like a light border line between that light tone and that white part of the paper, because as you continue making all your other layers, you're going to not really see that as well. If you do want to make sure it's all nice and smooth, go ahead and use a piece of tissue, or maybe if you have a blending stub on your own, then you go ahead and use that. But I didn't do that at all, so to each their own. But don't use your finger, like I said. So here's what your first layer looks like. You now have holes that have been drawn into your paper. Pretty cool, right? So now under these holes, you're going to form your next set of holes. This will be your second layer. So as you can see, I'm just creating the same organic-like shapes underneath. I'm going through all the other different holes if that's where my organic shape takes me. And I'm just going to continue on. Again, you'll start shading your second layer. Make sure if you are left-handed or right-handed that you have a piece of paper under your drawing hand so you don't smear that first layer that you just made. And remember, your other layers are going to slowly get a little darker each time. So when you're seeing me shade right here, I'm kind of filling in that entire space. And all of my extended shadows are going a little closer towards the center of each shape. Now this is where it gets tricky. You want to make sure that when you create this third layer, you're going underneath both of these web layers that you just made. So try not to cross any of the webs that you've done. It may seem easy, but a lot of people have done it back in the past, so really keep an eye on how you are making your third layer blobs. We are now onto that fourth layer, and this is where it gets a little more complicated because you have to keep an eye on where you just did your third layer shapes so that you can put your fourth layer shapes into it. Just keep an eye on the previous layers and you should be in the clear. The fourth layer is easier to shade since you don't have too much to blend in. You just have a pretty dark perimeter and a pretty dark middle. Just make sure that that perimeter is a little darker. And here is the finished product. I would go back into the other layers to see if there's anything that needs to be blended out more, and just use your eraser to kind of clean up any scuffs, and there you're done. So good luck, and can't wait to see what you got.